Of course, Don Lemon should have been arrested. I can't imagine that there are people out there who think Don Lemon shouldn't have been arrested. But they're out there and they want to make this claim of he's a journalist. Now we're arresting journalists. Look what the Trump administration has done. Don Lemon was not a journalist when he conspired, my word, with this group to enter a church, disrupt services, basically engage in intimidation and harassment of the pastor and the parishioners. And as the indictment talks about, block people from leaving. Guys, Tony Katz, good to be with you. Look forward to getting back to the show on Monday. I'm at a conference right now. But Don Lemon being arrested was absolutely the right thing because Don Lemon was wrong. He's not a journalist. He isn't some kind of folk hero. He isn't a freedom fighter. He is a guy who worked with a group to disrupt parishioners because, well, he wanted attention. You understand that I don't believe, and I don't know if you believe, that he's actually concerned about the actions of Immigration and Customs Enforcement or Customs Border Patrol. I don't think he actually cares. He saw an opportunity. Now, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe he doesn't like the actions of ICE and Border Patrol, and he's more than welcome to report on it and ask questions about it and engage about it and make conversation about it, speeches about it, all he wants. Any of us are allowed to do that. You've got a phone, you go right ahead and record all you want, as long as you're not getting in the way, as long as you're not impeding, as long as you're not encouraging violence, and as long as you're not acting in a way that is violence. And what else do you call walking into a church and disrupting people while they're engaged in prayer? It is what it is. Of course, it's a violent act. What? Nobody got physically assaulted, so therefore it doesn't matter? Don Lemon had the audacity to tell the pastor, well, it's free speech. It's not free speech when you disrupt their church service. How could anybody think that it is? The rational person doesn't. And congratulations, you're amongst the rational people. The irrational people who are the ones who want to make the claim that somehow because they don't like what ICE is doing, and of course they don't like Trump because anything that they could say bad about Trump is something they want to say, everything's okay because of that. It's not. This has to do a lot with people being unable to control their emotions. People in the country illegally should be deported. Let me say it again for the people in the cheap seats. People in the country illegally should be deported. That is the right argument. And we have a lot of people in the country illegally. That doesn't mean that everybody who is here illegally is engaged in some kind of criminal activity. Of course not. It doesn't mean that they're going to be engaged in some kind of criminal activity after they've already entered the country illegally. But that act is breaking the law. Well, it's not a crime. It's just a misdemeanor. Doesn't even make any sense. Of course it's a crime. And it is something that we need to deal with, and it's something we need to focus on. If you don't like it, well, I'm sorry that you don't like it, but there are laws on the books, and we already know the amount of deportations that Bill Clinton engaged in, the amount of deportations that Barack Obama engaged in. Of course, Joe Biden engaged in deportations while he was allowing millions of people into the country. Allowing that to happen and then telling us that everything was fine and everything was good and, oh my gosh, the border is safe, and there was Alejandro Mayorkas, the then Secretary of Homeland Security, saying, oh, the border's safe, it's secure, we're doing everything fine. Of course it was fraud. Remember, Mayorkas was impeached by the Republicans in the House, and the Democrats under Chuck Schumer, they refused to have the trial. House does impeachment, Senate holds the trial to determine whether or not the person stays in office. The Senate would not hold the trial. Something important to remember, if for some reason Republicans hold the Senate, Democrats get the House, and they impeach Kristi Noem, no trial. That's the way this works. Chuck Schumer set the precedent, and you need to follow that precedent, Republicans, John Thune, all the way. No trial, none whatsoever. And for the record, how much is Kristi Noem vindicated regarding this guy, Alex Preddy, who was shot and killed by ICE? Oh, he's an ICU nurse. Oh, this is the worst thing that ever happened. Then we learned that he was known to ICE, and then we saw the video of him spitting on vehicles and screaming at ICE agents and then breaking one of their vehicles, kicking out the tail light. This is not a good, decent guy, as people like Ana Navarro on CNN said, or Senator Elizabeth Warren said. No, this was a guy who was known to ICE. This is a guy who was tracking ICE. This is a guy who was trying to get in the way of ICE doing their job, and he was doing it again. I didn't want him shot and killed. I still don't know if it's considered, based on law enforcement, a good shoot. What I know is that anybody who wants to say that he was some innocent soul, that's not the case. He was somebody who was engaged in going after ICE agents and the tracking of ICE agents and trying to intimidate ICE agents? And our answer to that should be absolutely not. And he put himself in the position of harm. He did that. I still want an investigation on ICE agents. Don Lemon knew what he was doing. And the video that he had made shows that he knew what he was doing. He knew what they were planning. He was engaged with them in that. He knew where they were going. And as the indictment shows, after the arrest in Los Angeles, he was there covering the Grammys, that absolutely he was engaged in blocking parishioners and their movement. The end. This was the right thing to do. And for the people out there upset and bothered, and it's a journalist, and we're going after journalists. No. If you want to talk about going after journalists, let's talk to James Rosen during the Obama administration. That's going after journalists. He wasn't a journalist in this moment. Just because he calls himself a journalist doesn't mean that he gets to get some kind of special protection that protects him from any illegal act. That's ridiculous, and we would never think that in any other case. But the people who hate Trump more than they love oxygen, they'll say anything and they'll believe anything. He knew what he was doing. Now, I think he did it for clicks. He wanted to put himself back out there and people paying attention to him and maybe clicking on all his content. Remember, he had this fantastic opportunity with X. And then he did the interview with Elon Musk, and he threw all that away because Don Lemon believes that he's above the fray. Don Lemon believes himself that he's smarter. Don Lemon believes himself to be the arbiter of all things good and decent, when that's not true in the slightest. And it's been proven true by his actions in this church. Of course, he should be charged. And we should be clear, we don't have to have an argument with the people who are screaming, he's a journalist and how dare you. Those people just got to get pushed to the side. As we discussed on the show, ICE should not slow down their activities. ICE should triple down on their activities. Now, if you want to argue that it needs to be a change of tactics, well, okay. Let's talk about what those tactics are, and then let's make changes that make them more efficient and more effective. I'm absolutely down for that. But because a bunch of people are screaming and yelling and getting violent, ICE should stop. Do you think that's going to make them stop? No, it's going to embolden those anti-American people to be even more violent. And for the record, I say anti-American because these are not protesters. These are violent people engaged in violent activity, trying to stop law enforcement from doing their job. And we don't celebrate that. We don't appreciate that. And we don't support it. And we should be arresting those people. Zip ties are cheap. Go arrest those people who are engaged in impeding ICE, in tracking ICE, in attacking ICE, in ramming the vehicles of ICE, in engaging false imprisonment by trying to block in their cars as they're heading down the road. Arrest these people. And when Don Lemon is engaging with these people to attack parishioners so he can get some clicks, yeah, he gets arrested. He gets arrested. 10,000% he gets arrested. This was the right move. And I hadn't had a chance because I've been away to talk about it. Some people are asking, I think Drew is asking, are you in your kitchen? No, I'm in a hotel room. I'm in a hotel room. I'm at a conference, but I've been wanting to get to this and talk about it. By the way, it's a nice hotel room, indeed. You can't argue with the people who want to make some ridiculous claim of, well, he's just a journalist. He shouldn't be arrested. Wasn't a journalist in this case. And I would argue that we need to keep having that part of the conversation. The people angry and upset, let them be. Let them be. The idea that we should be able to discuss these things out and talk these things out is very, very true. I think it's extremely important. And I wish that the political left would engage in what some would call civility and be able to have the conversation without engaging in the acts of violence. Absolutely. But the people who are now going to be violent, and then people like Don Lemon supporting them, they have to lose. They have to lose. And we have to win and they have to lose. And we are the free and thinking people who believe in the rule of law. And they are the anti-American zealots who believe that they should be allowed to use force to attack ICE agents. They should be allowed to walk into churches, stop parishioners from praying, intimidate them, threaten them, and then block them from their movement. They have to lose. We have to win. And we win by the utilization of the laws on the books and say, we don't do that here. We don't accept it. We won't have it. And you are going to face the consequences of it. Now, he's innocent until proven guilty, and there should be a trial and everything else. Of course, I'm not out of my mind on any subject. I believe in the application of the law. They don't. Don Lemon believes he's above the law, and he's not. He isn't. So the arrest was smart and good and valuable and important. And a lesson: no one's above the law. Funny, I heard that somewhere. I heard that no one is above the law. It's funny the things that they say, but they don't actually mean for themselves. I am thrilled that you guys are here. I'm thrilled that you joined me on this quick live. I'm back to the radio show on Monday. Really looking forward to that. I just wanted to give a quick comment here. Engage this. Don't forget to subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it if you do. Can't thank you enough for showing up and commenting. Yeah, even some people are silly and some people are pretty fantastic. Thank you, Christine. I appreciate it quite a bit. I grew up in New Jersey, born in Brooklyn, grew up in New Jersey. Good stuff. Good stuff indeed. Guys, I'll catch you very, very soon. Don't forget to subscribe right here on the YouTube or on X or on Facebook or LinkedIn, wherever it is you're watching. I wish you would. I'll catch you guys later.